Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your actually freezing hosts.
I am John.
And I'm and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Winter is here, so is 2021, so is a brand new season of anime. And of course, we will take a look at all the hot, cold and lukewarm premieres that we could get our greedy little hands on in the sneak peek. And after that, we will wander off into the frozen post-Russo-Japanese war landscapes and review the third season of one of our favorite new series from recent years, Golden Kamuy. Sounds like a cozy, cool time, so don't pause the pod, we'll be right back. They try to hit you. They try to go in down and out. Alright, here we are back in the sneak peek, and of course, as usual, we have our three categories: the nopes, the maybes, and the keepers. And yeah, we will talk a bit about shows that we checked out from the premieres for winter season 2021, and which of these shows we deem watchable, interesting, or even superb on their first episode. So yeah. Let's try to get into that. Alright, John, let's start off with the nopes. So what's your first nope? What's your first show that you are sure that you definitely not continue watching?
I checked out the first episode of Kemono Jihen, and...
Oh, interesting, because that's one of my maybes, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's... How can I say this? Like a Mob Psycho with a different coat of paint. I feel like just from that first episode, I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like I've seen this story already. Like it seems very well made, and but
the comparison works in terms of how, let's say, quote unquote emotionless Kabane is. Although I wouldn't call Mob emotionless. He seems just very, soft and. Or at least soft-spoken, and
and he sort of grows into, and I sort of see the same thing happening with whatever his name was, Dorotobo, his actual name.
Cabanese is right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. But aside from that, it's much more horror-focused, and also definitely not as focused on the comedy as Mob is. So I think the similarities and at maybe the main character. I'm going to talk about it when I get to my maybes. So, all right. But you felt like this is something you've seen before and you don't need to see it again.
Yeah. Okay. So I just kind of was like, I'm sure this is a fine show in that people have liked the manga for, I think it's been running for like 4 or 5 years now when I looked it up.
Interesting. So
I was like, I'm sure people enjoy this. I'm sure people were looking forward to this. I think I'm fine without it.
All right.
So this wasn't a knee-jerk like, no. It was just more of a, no thanks.
Okay, get it. Okay, all right. My first nope is Praeter something. I don't remember the full title.
Yes, Scar on the Praeter.
Right. That's only the Japanese title is even something more ridiculous or something longer. I don't find. It's a new show by Studio Gohans. I never intended to actually check this out or watch this. It's from the same people who made Handshakers and Wise, and I was like, okay, I gotta see this shit. What new kind of a visual horror have they concocted in their fucking studio again? And yeah, it looks a bit different from Handshakers and Wise in that it doesn't look like someone ate a full set of watercolors and then puked them all over the screen. But instead they went with hyper-realistic PS3 CG backgrounds with muted colors like gray and brown, so the characters feel even more like alien objects. And the water is downright the most hideous CG water I've ever seen.
You asked me to watch the first 5 minutes, and I kind of glossed over the water at first, and then I rewound.
It's in the background. It's like you're so fixated on trying to process what you've seen before this that you can miss out on it, but it just... my eyes jumped right at it. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I rewound and looked at it, and I was like, what is this?
How is this? Why is this? Yeah. Oh, God. Good job, Gohans. You yet again managed to make the ugliest anime of a new season. Although, I think there's another one I didn't check out, which is called X-Arm or something, which is this super ugly, badly animated PS2 thing. That sounds like that might be your second note, John.
Well, I mean, you hit the second nope with Scar and the Praeter, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much the long and short of the nopes this time around.
Okay.
But I feel like it's worth mentioning from the clips of X-Arm that what? Why? It's made, and you know what? It's made by a crew that's never made an anime before. Okay, that's the first red flag. The second red flag was, I think it was the director or the producer was like, "We're declaring war on all sci-fi anime." Go
Right.
on. Are you sure about that? And then all the clips I've seen on Twitter, I'm like, oh no. And this is one of the shows that Crunchyroll is trying to push, and it's like, what are you doing?
It feels like they're trying to get their own Ruby or something, and that's the thing. It just looks so much worse. And even I didn't even like the look of Ruby, and this is wow.
I don't dislike the look of Ruby. I watched the first season and then I just kind of fell off it. So I don't have like an inherent dislike for Ruby. I just have it. I'm not super interested in it. That's all.
Yeah, it just like looks very fan made. That's all. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, you know. If it comes from actual fans or not from a professional quote unquote studio, animation studio. So it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, at least you could see with Ruby Montium, bless his soul before he passed away, he wanted to make an anime, and god damn it, he fucking did it.
Yeah.
And he did it decently enough.
Yeah, sure. And considering that a lot of the original stuff came from him alone, basically, it's kind of impressive. Yeah. But if like an actual normal standard amount of people worked on this for an anime studio or something like that, you know, whatever that studio calls itself anyway, animation studio. The clips are oh god, and I didn't even know about the statement you just mentioned, them declaring war on sci-fi anime. I bet
I read that and I was like, fuck off.
I bet Ghost in the Shell is cowering in fear. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, maybe Standalone Complex 2045 is because whoo.
Okay, well, I intentionally ignored that. Sorry, I don't need this. There's enough hand-drawn Ghost and Shell out there that one can enjoy if they want to. Also, something like, I don't know, Psychopaths exists, so how would you even... Why would you make that statement? How kind of... Wow. Jesus. Ignorant do you have to be, or what kind of ill-guided confidence? Whoa.
Isn't it great? Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, fantastic.
Let me swing my big old dick around and say, this is going to be the best sci-fi anime ever. Puts out a flash animation.
Well, right. I mean, I wish them all the best. Have fun with that. Oh yeah, back to another short thing on Scar of Praeter. I couldn't tell you what the story was about. My gaze was too transfixed on the baffling design choices. So, if you are interested in that show, I don't check it out. I have no idea what to tell you what this thing is. It was just hilarious looking, like I expected from Gohan. So.
I will say in Praetor's favor, it seems kind of like they're getting slightly better at the 2D, 3D integration, but it's still not there. It's still not there.
All right. Okay. Well, then that's it for the nopes, I guess. Yeah, I think you have less maybes than me, although one of them is one of your nopes. Anyway, why don't you start us off with why don't I start us off with the maybes then? Short confusion there.
Well, there might be some overlap there too. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's true. That might be the case. Anyway, my first maybe is 2.43 Seiin High School Boys Volleyball Club, which is about a boy named Chika who returns to his old hometown in the Hicks and rejoins with an old friend of his to form a volleyball team that can compete in a tournament. And right now that the school team consists of kind of like in Ahiru no Sora, where it's like people in there that didn't actually want to be in a sports team. They just had to choose a club because that's kind of mandated by the school. So, all right. Anyway, so that's what he's trying to do. The setup is very basic sports anime, and of course, at this point, you can't avoid the comparisons to the king on the court, aka Haikyuu. And this is not Haikyuu.
I guess somebody had to step in after Haikyuu.
Well, Haikyuu is not done. That's the thing. Like, they had a new season, and we get to that. But it's like, yeah, maybe trying to fill in the dead air between seasons for Haikyuu. But yeah, like I said, this isn't Haikyuu aside from the genre of sports anime and choosing the sport as volleyball. First of all, it doesn't look as good. David Production do their best, and don't get me wrong, the animation is solid, but the character models are not as sharp, and it doesn't have the same sparkles and pizzazz Haikyuu does. But that's also not what it's going for, I think, in terms of looks, in terms of story. It feels it's supposed to look much more grounded, while Haikyuu is much more hyper stylized and, like I said, sparkly and colorful and rainbowy, and yeah. And the pacing in this also feels rushed for some reason. Like, characters quickly change their behavior on a whim out of nowhere, and then suddenly there's a 1 month time jump in the middle of the first episode. So it's a bit jarring and wacky, although I can see why they did that, because they want to get through all the standard shonen setup, where it's like, hey, the team members meet, and then they try to work together, and then they actually play together, and they kind of rush past all of that, because that doesn't really seem to be the focus of the story, or they want to get to the tournament stuff. But the main thing is, it also had a lot more of an edge to it. Like, everyone is more, first of all, more grown up. It feels like everyone is more mean in a way, especially Chika. He is a real asshole in the beginning, and he has like this drive to be the best at volleyball. And at the end of the first episode, we learned that he only left his prestigious school because he pushed another member on his volleyball team so hard that the kid tried to commit suicide. So yeah, this is definitely not the jolly good happy times Haikyuu is usually about. Because of that more edgier, more grown-up, mean feel, it has some potential for substantial character development in there. But for now, neither the setting nor the characters did do it for me. And I've only watched the first episode, so the second episode might rope me in, I don't know, we'll see. But Haikyuu, like, checked all the right boxes and then some in its first episode. So it's like, I know it's not fair to constantly make that comparison, but that's how it is.
It's the closest thing to relate it to, so...
Exactly, yeah. And not everyone needs to be the best of the best, but I'm probably good with just one volleyball series in my life right now, considering Haikyuu is not finished yet and just had another stellar season outing, which we will talk about soon.
For some reason, I thought this was the last season. I guess I was wrong.
No, not even remotely. That tournament, national tournament just started, buddy. It's like they played 1 or 2 teams, and it's like 3 more ahead or something. So, and they spent a 24 episode and won that big match. So, so there you go. Yeah, there's a lot more Haikyuu coming, and I don't know if I need an in-between volleyball sports anime to bridge me over. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe bordering on a nope right now. Maybe the second episode will turn it around, but I kind of doubt it. We'll see. You might hear about it in a review, you might hear about it in a Quick and the Dead, or you might not hear about it anymore at all. We shall see. John, what is your first maybe?
Back Arrow!
Yes, that's also my next maybe. That really fucked with me in the beginning, because it has like this weird placeholder OP, and I thought it was the real one. And I was like, this is the laziest shit. Look at this. What is it? What are they doing? This is not even parts like clips from the show. This is just panning camera shots of the 2 ostensible main characters. But yeah, they pulled one over on me.
It was so wild because they didn't even have the staff credits. Everything was just like the voice actors and the characters they played. I was like, wait a minute, this is just the cast. It's none of the staff. What is this OP?
Yeah. It was super weird. I should have suspected something was off. But yeah,
well, this show is about half a step away from becoming Code Geass. So, and there's reasons for that.
It's too jolly for Code Geass, though. At least for now. Like, I mean, I know what you're getting to, and yeah, please tell the audience why that is. But it's like I expected something different. So
yeah, well, Yeah, so the show was directed by one Garo Taniguchi, and if you know that name, it's because he directed and wrote a lot, almost all of the entirety, created basically Code Geass.
One of the co-creators. The other one we will also talk about in the sneak peek a bit later.
That's true. That is true. But yes, he's one of the big guys on that, and boy, you feel little bits of that flavor just sort of popping through. So what the hell is Back Arrow about? It's about the land of Lingaland, and it's enclosed by the Wall. The Wall covers, protects, cultivates, and nurtures the land. The Wall is God. It's the foundation of the land of Lingaland. I can't believe the name of this village. One day in the village called Edger. Okay. Jesus Christ. Which is on the outskirts of Lingaland. A mysterious man appears, and he's lost his memory, but he claims that all he knows is that he came from outside the Wall, and nobody in this village believes him, and they call him an idiot, and they ask what his name is, and he introduces himself as, I'm a complete idiot.
I mean, it's a wordplay, right?
It's the best wordplay, because I watched the first trailer before the show aired, and I'm like, and someone says they're Bakayaro, and I'm like, Ore no na wa Bakaro da, and I was just like, no, it couldn't be that stupid. And then I watched the first episode, and I'm like, it was that fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's really good. That just made me laugh out loud. I don't know.
It got me. It got me so good.
So yeah, this is done by Studio Voln, which had me a bit worried that the animation quality would drop severely after the first episode, because they also did Karakuri Circus, and that's what happened there, kinda.
Yeah.
But the show looked great in its first episode, still good in the second episode.
Yeah, it still looked like it was on point. So I mean, maybe Taniguchi is giving Voln the kick in the ass that they need.
It's very end of 90s, beginning of the aughts kind of show in terms of tone. It's very loud, it's very fast, it's very colorful. So, I don't know, there are a lot of kinetic jokes and action, and it's very quickly edited and everything. So, it's fun. It just seems very basic at this moment in terms of characters, in terms of story and everything. We'll see if it goes anywhere interesting. It just seems to be a fun, funny kind of light show. So if you're in the mood for that and like some cool looking mechs, that might be for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, mech anime is like, it feels like a dying breed.
Yeah.
So the fact that, this even exists this season is kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll watch it for some fun mech action. The mechs have crazy designs. They're powered by the pilot's conviction.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, okay, that makes it interesting, because one of the girls in the first episode is like, I forget exactly what it was, but she was like, my conviction is we'll make it through somehow, and that's why she can't really be hurt.
Yeah.
Which was like, all right, okay.
It's interesting. We'll see where they go with that mechanic. I mean, that's also always a thing, or most of the time a thing in mech anime, and anime in general, where it's like, with my willpower, I will reach the next level, blah, 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 blah. And now they're actually putting it into words and making that an actual thing in the show. So no, it's your actual will, your actual conviction that fucking fuels and steers those things. It's not just an imaginary concept or something. Or
it's not spiral power. It's your will made manifest.
It's actually your will. Yeah, they're Green Lantern rings, basically. So
it's perfect for Super Robot Wars.
Yeah, of course, it is. And Back Arrow is a really fun main character. Like, there's a thing in the second episode, and we'll get to that if we actually review it, that made me laugh out loud when he has an interaction with another character. And like I said, the editing in the show is really quick and fun, and it doesn't linger long on the jokes, so the slapstick humor and everything, and the banter and everything works really well. So yeah, I liked what I've seen so far. I don't know if it can hold my interest for its entire runtime, but we'll see. Also, great soundtrack by Koei Tanaka.
Yes.
So I'm always glad to see him do something outside of One Piece. And yeah, we'll see. So for now, this were fun. This were two fun first episodes.
Yes. What do you have next on the maybe docket?
Next on the docket is actually Kemono Jihen for me. Mm-hmm. What you said, and yeah, we didn't really go into the story in your Nope mention, so I will do that just now. So basically the main character of this show. I'm gonna spoil a bit of the first episode because it's the first episode, so I feel like I can do that. But the main character Kawane is kind of like this half human, half ghoul who was ostensibly abandoned by his parents, left with his aunt, I think. And there's a private detective from Tokyo called Inugami, who has come to the countryside where Kawane lives to investigate mutilated or rotting livestock. Turns out, just like Kawane, Inugami's a Kemono, so kind of a beast creature, myth creature, whatever. I don't know what the actual definition of that was. And he has kind of Tanuki-esque powers and can conjure a gun out of thin air that seems to be kind of part of his body. He's partially transforming his hand into a gun, not sure how it works. But Inugami was actually hired by the inn-hostess to kill Kawane because she knew about Kawane's secret and thought he was going around killing things, and it's kind of a bit fucked up. And of course, Kawane also suffered a lot of abuse in general through her and her stupid ass son. And Inugami then pretends to kill Kawane and takes him with him to Tokyo, and now they're gonna do investigating things like cases of the week, basically. At least for now, that seems what the show is doing, like a procedural thing, where what Inugami's agency does is going out and checking out cases where Kemono affairs interfere with human affairs. Or for now, it was only humans being threatened by Kemono. And yeah, it's very horror focused. There's some really creepy imagery in there, some cool atmosphere. Animation is pretty damn good. It has a really nice orchestral soundtrack. I liked it. I like what I saw. Again, I don't know if it can hold my interest. The characters seem fine so far. Might be a bit on the cliche side in certain aspects, but we'll see where it goes. There's enough mystery still in there and interesting character setups that can go to interesting places. I don't know if it will, but I might be interested to stick with it to find out. So that's it. John, what is your next maybe?
My next maybe... I'm not gonna lie to myself, it'll probably turn into a keeper, but I'm keeping it a maybe for now. Sk8 the Infinity.
That's for me. That's a keeper for me.
Okay. So it's about two high school students, Reki and Langa, and Reki is super duper into skateboarding, and Langa is a transfer student from Canada. And he gets sort of roped into Reki's what's the word I'm looking for? Misadventures. One night when Reki gets roped into a skateboarding race that's simply just called S. And he has a beef with a boarder named Shadow. God, man. If Kenta Miyake ever had a role where he was going as ham as possible, Shadow is it.
Yes.
Because he played a lot of like mild-mannered characters. Like, even probably one of the most crazy characters he's played that we've seen in the past. Like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He didn't go too crazy there, but with this, he's just like, all the time, and it's great. But when
he looks like he came out of, I don't know, a Mad Max movie or something. Maybe a bit, or something like that.
But yeah, when Reki gets wrecked in the race, and the next night he and Langa go back there to deliver a board to someone else who's having a beef with Shadow. Langa decides, I want to try and take this thing for a ride, but wait, how do you keep your feet on the board? So he duct tapes his feet to the board, and he rides like a pro down the hill. And hey, it turns out Langa's from Canada, right? There's a lot of snow in Canada. You can't skateboard in snow, but you sure can snowboard.
Yeah. Which made me wonder in the beginning, is there actually such a big overlap in terms of mechanics between skateboarding and snowboarding? Second episode answers that question because nope. It's not that simple, actually. So he has to relearn a lot of the basics. But yeah.
I mean, there's similar things, but obviously different execution.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And Reki and Langa are an instantly likable classic hot and cold duo with the haircut to match that trope. And yeah, so first of all, this is done by Studio Bones. So
So it looks fucking phenomenal.
Looks fucking phenomenal, and the skating is fast paced. It looks really cool. Got some nice 3D environments and shit like that, and some cool terrain, and cool soundtrack. Everything. Yeah, this is also where we get to Code Geass again. This is written by the other Code Geass guy, by Ichiro Okuchi. So. The guy behind Code Geass, Valvrave the Liberator, and Guilty Crown.
What a track record!
That is quite a track record of trash, or dumb at least. I mean, Code Geass is still a good show, but it's also in parts really fucking dumb. So I am expecting Sk8 to get also really dumb in a way. I mean, it already is. Like, at the end of the show, of the first episode, suddenly the obvious villain appears and is conducting the race between Langa and Shadow to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony in front of his TV screens. And he has vampire fangs. Like, this is the kind of dumb I can immediately get behind. And
it's pretty great.
I expect more of that to come. And all the other races that there are going to be in there have like these colorful costumes. One is like this ninja racer, ninja skateboard racer with a cyber board that has, I don't know, fucking...
It's got the Google Assistant.
Yeah, got Google Maps on it. You have to approach the next curve in a different angle, blah, blah, blah. Which seems kind of like cheating, but okay. And there's the beefcake cook who has a beef with the ninja, and yeah, it all is kind of pretty dumb. But the main characters, every character in this seems so very likable and interesting and fun, and has just a really cool vibe and pacing to it. And there's more to talk about because I'm pretty sure I will review this thing. So, like I said, it's a keeper for me. I'll talk about that when we get to the actual review. But yeah, for now, seems like a really cool mix between Tony Hawk Pro Skater meets Initial D meets Mario Kart, maybe. So that is something that you don't see every day in anime. So I'm willing to check it out for until the end.
I think Jeff Thu referred to it as Fast and Furious Downhill Jam.
Yeah, sure, why not? That also works.
But yeah, I mean, the only reason this is a maybe is because I'm so hot and cold with quote-unquote sports anime. Yeah. So I want to see how it pans out. But, the first two episodes, they looked great. They were really fun. It's got a banger of an opening sequence. Oh, yeah. And the ending sequence is so goofy. It's just showing all the characters just falling off their boards and eating shit in so many different ways.
Yeah. That's true. It's really fun, like in general. So yeah, definitely gonna get a review for that, but we'll see. I don't know. It's probably planned for 12 or 13 episodes. I can't see this to be a 2-course show, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
I mean, it might be a split core because I mean, this is directed by the same lady who directed Free. So maybe there might be more in the barrel after this. Yeah,
we'll see. I'm interested to see a lot more of this, so I'd be fine if there were more episodes than 12 or 13. All right, my next maybe and my last maybe is Slime Time Season 2. So that time I got reincarnated as a slime, Season 2, which was probably the only isekai show in recent years that I didn't hate, if I remember correctly, or at least actually liked.
You can take your pick. They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. There are so many, but so few good ones.
There's no less than like 5 airing this season. I guess the big ticket name one is that Mushoku Tensei. I guess it's a big deal. I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah,
I read a synopsis of it, and I was immediately out. It's like, this is the most light novel that ever light noveled.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, do go on.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, Slime Time has enough of that too. The story is about the guy who dies in the real world, gets transported to a different world, gets reincarnated there. But the twist is he got not reincarnated as a super powerful. Well, yeah, that too, but not as a powerful human. He gets reincarnated as a slime from Dragon Quest, and then goes from there and just absorbs more and more monsters and gets more and more imbalanced. And OP. Rimuru is his name in that universe, and yeah, he's the most OP slime, and I'm glad he's back. And with him are a plethora of lovable characters, including, of course, the bestest boy of them all, Rangar. And the last thing Rimuru did after taking the first step in creating a utopia where monsters of all kind could live together in the form of his own nation, Tempest, was to become the teacher of the final class of his friend Shizu, which resulted in him imbuing the kids of that class with spirits so they would be able to control their powers and not be consumed by them, like their previous teacher was, like Shizu was. But danger lurks in the shadows in the form of Demon Lord Clayman, who was behind most of the bad shit happening in Season 1. And one of Shizu's former pupils is also apparently gonna be one of the main antagonists in this season, who thinks Rimuru is the one who killed Shizu, which obviously, well, it's complicated. He kind of absorbed her body and now looks like her, so that's where she might get that idea, I guess, and I get why, but we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, the thing I liked about the first season, and that is still holds true for the second season, is that diplomacy is still a heavy focus in the show. Since Rimuru needs to deal with a bunch of different nations as a leader of one, and he's quite good at it. Like, one of his most clever plays in the first season was actually letting a bunch of human adventurers take credit for defeating the Orc Lord, so that he and his nation wouldn't be considered too powerful and thus a threat. So he's clever, and he has a knack for it. And he has like this giant amount of hubris. He's kind of going on about the stuff like, yeah, I'm a bit easygoing, and I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to be arrogant about it and everything. I know where I came from, and I'm just going to try to help everyone, which is refreshing. So... And of course, there's also a lot of fighting, which looks really good. Though I need to look up if this is still the same animation studio, because it looks not as good as Season 1. Maybe they're saving some of the budget, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this is exactly what ensues when envoys from the Beast Nation meet up with Rimuru and his delegation and immediately start trouble, and that's where we end the first episode. So yeah, we'll see. I like the first season a lot. Last third, where he teaches those kids, wasn't as strong, dragged a bit, although there were some funny jokes in there with another guy from the real world. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. The thing is, there's so much keepers in this season for me, and I don't know if I want to keep on watching isekai anime. I don't know if the story will go anywhere interesting in Slam Time. I mean, there's still a lot of potential, but also a lot of the stuff in Season 2 was so refreshing because, you know, Rimuru is just a different kind of character. And they're doing that again in this season with, I think the show is called I'm a Spider, So What? Where a girl gamer is reincarnated as a little monster spider and then becomes more powerful and OP in a way. So it's kind of like the gender flip version of this. But yeah, so there are some stories that cater to that kind of trope. And this was definitely one of the more interesting in Season 1. I don't know if it's going to be as interesting in Season 2. We'll see if there's enough in there to make this a keeper. I don't know yet. But first episode was fun. It was fun being reacquainted with all the characters that I liked in Season 1. And I had a good time. I don't know if that will be enough to watch another full season of this. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a fun show. And if you really, really, really like the first season, you're definitely going to like the second season. I'm pretty sure of that. All right, John. Why? I think we're done with the nopes and the maybes now. Why don't you head us off with the keepers? And that would probably be a show that has started already in fall season, kinda, but only a couple of episodes.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about it during the last sneak peek we did because it didn't start airing until December. But the final season of Attack on Titan is here, baby.
Yes. Different studio.
Yes. What studio passed the torch to MAPPA? Mm-hmm. And I think we both kind of had our reservations about that.
Yes. I still do in a way because of certain reasons, but we'll get to that in the eventual review because, you know, that... Come on, guys. Like... We're not going to stop watching Attack on Titan now. And, I mean...
No, of course not. Come on.
Yes. And, I mean, we had our reservations because it's like... It felt to an extent like the ending of the third season felt like it could have been kind of open-ended, but still logical conclusion to the story. Right. In terms of themes and everything, most of the secrets were revealed at that point, and it was like, okay, where is the show gonna go from here? And it goes some interesting places, because right from the get-go, you get thrown into a new setting, almost completely different cast of characters. And for the first episode, at least, you're kind of wondering what is happening. Where are they going with this? Who are these characters? I know some of them. I know Rainer. I know Zeke. But all the kids are new, and we are joining the Marley side now, which are painted as just like plain old antagonists and evil assholes at the end of the 3rd season. So what are we doing? John, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, I guess it's been about 4 years in between then and now. And the world sure looks a little bit different.
Much more of a World War I aesthetic now than instead of what we had before, which looked a lot more medieval in terms of designs and everything.
Yeah, and I guess, there were reasons for that. But things are starting to sort of heat back up again, because we're going to finally learn the fate of the Scout Regiment and the people of Paradis Island. But Aaron has kind of gone missing. We don't know where he is, and if he's going to reappear, and what's going to happen with these there's still these tensions between the Marleyans and the Eldians as a result of all of this fighting that's been going on for...
It's an understatement, really.
Yeah, for a very long time. So, I think we're looking to find the climax of that battle between the two nations, and within these first 5 or 6 episodes that we've gotten so far, we're kind of very quickly heading toward that.
Yeah. Oh shit. No kidding. And I was wondering, like, hey, why are they going to show us the ones? Why are they so focused on the one side yet? And then, in the course of the first episode, I realized, oh yeah, they're doing the same thing as Last of Us 2 did, which means the entire story, basically, we have watched the whole thing from one side, and now we're basically seeing kind of a different point of view from a kind of faction that we deemed as the ultimate bad guys before, and now we see like, hey, there are humans here, and war and hatred and revenge and all of that garbage is really bad. And if you let yourself spiral into that and let go of your humanity, a lot of innocent people are gonna die, and boy are they. And yeah, so if you want to have a good time, as usual, Attack on Titan is not it. In terms of happy time, good time in terms of fun action time and thrilling developments and cool shit to see on the screen, that you're definitely gonna have. But if you are too attached to certain characters, or if you are skimmish when it comes to to blood, gore, people dying in general, and cruel shit, but yeah, I'm interested to see how all of this wraps up. I mean, we heard before that the final arc of the manga, which is still running, but which is gonna wrap up in April, if I'm not mistaken. That's what Isayama said anyway. We knew that this final arc would be very different from what came before it, and now I know why people said that. First, in terms of setting. Second, in terms of what the focus is and what the story is there that he's trying to tell. I don't know if he can pull it off as good as Naughty Dog did in terms of what the theme is, what the obvious theme is of this, and what the final exclamation mark on that is, if there is any at all. It might just be, hey, war is bad, guys. And thanks, Isayama, I know that. And then everyone is dead at the end. That might also be the thing that happens. Wouldn't be surprised by that, actually. I mean, a lot of them have done that. So we'll see where it goes. I hope it doesn't, because that would be kind of lazy, and that has been done before. And it would be a disservice to the characters that have been built up throughout the first 3 seasons. So if they are completely put into the background in service of the new characters yet, and showing us like this, the duality and the horrors of war and everything from a different perspective, and that people don't stop fighting and don't let go of their past grievances, shit is going to get worse and worse and worse. It's like, yeah, I agree with the sentiment. I'm all for it, showing that and showing people that that is garbage. I've seen it done so well this last year. I don't know if Isayama can pull it off better. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm interested, and I'm here for the action, even though the Titans are all CG now, and I'm not a fan of that. But, you know, what can you do? Some of the shots still look really good. And, I mean, there are still characters in there that I really like. And I always have liked in the show. So, yeah, let's see where it goes. This is going to be a definite review eventually. I don't know. Do you know for how many episodes this is scheduled?
Last I saw, it was a weird number. It was 16 episodes.
That seems not enough. Unless Isayama is working directly together with the people who make the anime again, which he did in the third season. He reconstructed the script, the events from the manga completely, like to make things flow better with the conspiracy plot and everything that was too long and too dragging in the manga. So maybe he's doing that here as well.
I would imagine so.
And maybe it's too core. It's maybe 2 times 16 episodes or something. But if it's just 16 episodes and the manga is only going to end in April, that doesn't really line up unless maybe... No, not even if the final episode and the final chapter come out at the same time. That doesn't work. I hope they don't rush the fuck out of it. But we have enough people in our Discord chat that will tell us if they do, because they have read ahead in the manga and know what's up. So we can start worrying right when that happens. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for now, I'm really interested. And yeah, I just want to see how that shit is wrapped up. Let's do it. Let's end Attack on Titan, the show with the title that is actually a mistranslation.
Yeah, God.
I was so fucked. I knew that would be the case when I read the Japanese title in the first place. And then when in the past season when I said, and he is the Attack Titan, I was like, oh, fucking God.
Oh, yeah, our friends pointed that out to us. Like, how do you like that mistranslation? And I think we were both kind of like,
Yeah, just like, okay, well, what can you do? Anyway, that was your first keeper. My next keeper would be Sk8 the Infinity, but we already talked about that. So I'm going to head over to Dr. Stone, Stone Wars, which is the second season of Dr. Stone.
I forgot that was this season.
Yes, and I mean, why would you keep track of that? Because you didn't watch the first season. So
exactly.
There you go. But I did, and I was looking forward to it because Dr. Stone was one of my favorite shonen titles in recent years, just because it kind of completely does away with the standard formula and just focuses on the main character creating wild and new inventions and advancing the Stone Age society to trying to get, like, basically a quick start human evolution and bring them to a point where they can travel to space, I guess, or something. I don't know what his end goal is, but, you know, his end goal is to save all the people that have been encased in stone at the beginning of the first season. After successfully creating the stone world version of a cell phone at the end of the first season, yes, he did that, Senku immediately goes over to the next unbelievable invention, Cup Ramen!
I'm sorry.
It sounds kind of low-key, but it makes sense because it's winter, and that is lightweight food and highly durable nourishment, and that gives them the advantage in the fast-approaching battle against Tsukasa's army, who is the leader of basically the opposite fraction from Senku's, and has dedicated himself to only revive the young folks and kill all the old ones so the world can start over with a young society not tarnished by legacy. And yeah, it will be interesting to see him and Senku clash again. I also like that a lot of new inventions use or build on old ones. For example, they use the watermill and a bunch of other things they invented before to freeze dry the ramen into legit space food. So that's pretty cool. Senku and Gen, who was one of the characters that first was with Tsukasa's faction and then joined Senku's faction during the course of the first season, in the second half. And he is kind of a schemer, and like you would expect from his character, he has already a mischievous plan in mind to win the upcoming Stone Wars, and both him and Senku like agree to do what they want to do. Like they intend to deliver the cell phone to Senku's friends, who are kind of acting as spies in Tsukasa's army, and then they will let the soldiers in Tsukasa's army hear the record of Lillian's song from the first season, who was like this idol that was very well known in the world and very respected and everything. And then Gen, who's very good at impersonations, will impersonate Lillian and tell everyone in Tsukasa's army that the world, in fact, hasn't gone completely to ruin and that there's already help on the way from America. Which, of course, is a big fat lie, but considering the bad audio quality of this Stoneworld cell phone, they think they can make it convincing enough to turn enough people in Tsukasa's army against him and take him prisoner. Yeah, that is quite a plan. And they're really like having fun with it, or it's like, wow, we're definitely going to hell for this plan, and they have so much fun with it, or they're like this. I don't know. It's really fun to see them work together. And the calculation is that since the stability of that army is built entirely on Tsukasa's charisma, things will work out for them, even if the fact they lied becomes public later on. Like I said, it's quite the gamble, so we'll see if they can pull it off. But first, they have to get there, which is easier said than done. Like I said, it's winter, and, there is still some of Tsukasa's people looking for intruders and everything. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm interested. Like I said, I really liked the first season of Dr. Stone. And was a lot of fun. Had a lot of great characters. Senku being a fantastic main character in his own right. And great soundtrack, decent visuals. Yeah, it's a fun show. It's a really fun show, and I'm going to keep watching it. I had a lot of fun with the first episode already, so I want to see where this goes and how those Stone Wars turn out in the end. What's your next keeper, John?
My next keeper is the third season of a show that predates this podcast.
Holy shit.
Yes. It's a show called Non Biyori Nonstop.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yes. So the overview is that it's about this girl named Hotaru who used to live in Tokyo with her mother and father. And, Tokyo's a very busy place. That's a bustling city. And they move way out to the sticks to, I believe it's Asahigaoka. And there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the descriptions I've seen lay out the setting as the closest bookstore sells Jump every Wednesday. The video rental shop is 10 stations down. Vegetables are left out for sale, and no one's ever seen a lock on a house.
You know that the show started before this podcast because they still have a video rental store in this story.
Yes. The first season was 2013. The second season was 2015.
Wow, okay.
It's been 6 years.
Yep.
But here's the thing about this show. The title is a pun on non biyori, just being lazy and, being, just enjoying your life and chilling out. And so I feel like I don't have to go back and rewatch the first seasons, even despite the time gap, because you already know who these characters are, and I know what I'm getting into watching the show. It's just very relaxing. It's very, just a character piece with not a lot of drama, not much story to it. It's just about, how everybody lives their life and making new friends and, that sort of thing. And it's
sounds like a healing show, like Iyashike or something.
It's pretty close. And,
okay.
It's a very silly show. A lot of the humor is predicated upon these drawn out pauses for effect. They're like, just something really dumb or silly happened. It's like, let's pause and think about this. Just take it in. Oh. So,
cicadas chirping in the background.
Yes. So I'm
glad the occasional aho bird flying through the sky.
Yeah, just off in the distance. Yeah. This show is very it's a nice chill show to watch. I don't think there's enough substance to it, or one of the other shows I'm going to talk about, to sit down and actually do a review. But let it be known that I've watched the show for, since it began. And if you want something that's just, you can just vibe out to, this is it. This is one of them. The other one is going to be one of them too. But it's a nice, easygoing show. So,
and if there's something in this season that you want to highlight, you can put it in the quick and the dead.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of next review season, I guess that's how it should work. Yeah, sounds fun. I hope you have a good time with it.
I think I will.
All right. My next keeper is BEASTARS Season 2.
Yes.
We were looking forward to it. Netflix hates us, so it doesn't want us to watch it when it comes out, as usual. So we have to resort to other means.
I almost thought about subscribing to Netflix and using a VPN. Huh. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I wonder. John, when are we expected to get this the normal way instead of
July?
Now? Fucking July. Are you kidding me, Netflix? What are you doing? Are you like, I don't know, are you going on vacation with the show? Are you trying to marry it? Are you trying to have kids with it? What does take so much fucking time?
Because they're waiting for the whole show to air, and everybody in America loves binging stuff, right? Everybody.
Is the second season of BEASTARS gonna be a two-core show?
As far as I knew.
Wow. Well, the first one only had 12 or 13 episodes, so I'm surprised by that. Okay.
As far as I knew, it was going to be a two-core show, so...
All right. Yeah, it's dumb. It's the usual.
It's frustrating.
Procedure is like, hey, you come to Netflix to binge watch. Yeah, no. I come to Netflix because you have the content. I don't want to fucking wait until the show is done. That makes sense if you produce a show, your own show, where it's like you produce it, then it's out, and you release it all at once, but not if it's running somewhere else at the same time, and you would get an episode by episode, and people would already be able to talk about that. I'm not going to get too much into it. We have gone into this before, like, the Netflix model just doesn't work for fucking anime. At least not for new ones. For old ones, it's great. It's like, hey, you want to watch all of Hunter x Hunter? There you go. It's all on there. Stuff like that. But, and I think for Great Pretender, they at least released the entire first season when it came out, if I'm not mistaken. Or the entire first season. There weren't even 2 seasons of Great Pretender. This is making me mad again. Sorry. It's like they released like the first half of it and was like, hey, this is season 2. And then they were done with the rest of the dub for the other episodes, and it was like, hey, this is season 2, and like, fuck you, that's not how this works. You don't make shit up. It's not real. Fuck you. God damn it, Netflix. The fuck are you doing? All right, but BEASTARS.
It's okay.
Yeah, let's go to the meat of the thing. BEASTARS season 2. We loved the first season. For at least one of us, it was the anime of the season in that particular one. Did we pick it both? Maybe we both of us picked it. I don't remember. But definitely one of us picked it.
No.
Definitely. It was a great show, and the most amazing thing about it was CG and didn't suck. Didn't look bad. And that's still the case.
You believe that? CG show we liked.
Yes, exactly. And it's still the case for the second season. I think the show looks still great. It's again gets a kick-ass stylish OP, not as good as the first one, but still great. Still has the fantastic jazzy soundtrack. The focus on subtle facial animations still amazes me, especially considering, like I said, this is all CG. Like, go Orange, like an outstanding studio. And yeah, so we continue the story where we left off. Like, Legoshi rescued Haru from the fangs of the Leo group, and Lewis apparently took them over.
Boy, that was a swerve.
Yeah, what the fuck? I mean, we knew he was up to something when he fucking shot the head of the Leo group in cold blood in the head. Or I think he shot him in the head at the end of the first season. But now he's like, hey, I took this bitch over, and this world is not made of herbivores and carnivores. It's made of winners and losers, and I'm not gonna lose ever again.
Damn, got him.
Yeah, holy shit. So So we got two really interesting story threads here. First Louis' story, and then what Legosi is gonna do, because he seems to be on the fast track to becoming the actual next Beastar due to some certain developments in terms of what the other schools want from, the prestigious Cheriton Academy and everything. And that means producing a new Beastar as quickly as possible, especially now that Louis is kind of out of the picture. So, yeah, we'll see where this goes. And, of course, how the relationship between Legosi and Haru develops. And Legosi also is trying to find out what actually happened to Tem, who got ostensibly eaten by the carnivore in the first season, in the very first episode. And we're finally going to get back to that plot thread, to that plot point. So I'm interested to find out what happened there. I have my suspicions, but we'll see. And yeah, I'm super interested to watch Beastars. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm enjoying every episode. I think Legosi is one of the best main characters in recent years. And I can't wait to see more. It's a bummer that normal people, law-abiding citizens, have to fucking wait until July to watch the second season of this great series. So yeah, fuck you, Netflix. Stop licensing anime. Only make your own ones, and if you want to release them at once. I mean, they sometimes do that, and that's fine. Like with Devil May Cry Baby and stuff like that. That's great. But if you license stuff that is really running on Japanese TV and you wait like for it to run its course and then release it, that's garbage.
And I mean, Netflix had said, probably not true anymore, that they were going to work on, simulcasting stuff, which they did once.
Yeah, they did it once.
Europe.
Yeah, exactly. They did it for Violet Evergarden, and that surprised me. It's like, hey, finally they get it. They finally gonna release it, and nope, no, fucking. And they do that for some US shows as well. I think Better Call Saul is being released on an episode by episode basis, like each week the new episode on Netflix. So it is possible. I don't know why they do it for every stuff.
Netflix is such a much larger company than Crunchyroll or Funimation. You mean to tell me they don't have the resources to do this?
Yeah, I don't know it's about the resources. I think there's some kind of algorithm or metric told them that, hey, if you release all of your shit as binge, more people are gonna keep subscribing to your service or stuff like that. And giant companies like that believe in the numbers.
Well, I guess you're never going to see $1 from me in that case.
Yeah, I just canceled my Netflix subscription because nothing is on there that I want to watch right now. And aside from Cobra Kai and maybe Queen's Gambit, there wasn't anything in recent months, especially not since they got rid of all the Marvel stuff, which is you can't even call it a niche, but it's just such a ginormous, but that's my jam. Superheroes are just my jam. But, since I got rid of that, I'm just gonna subscribe if there's a new season of Cobra Kai or, I don't know, Stranger Things or stuff, and just cancel my subscription in between. But, if they released Beastars on an episode by episode basis starting now, I wouldn't have canceled my subscription. So guess what? Because of your practices, you lost a subscriber, Netflix. Good job. You did it. Your metric won. Your fucking algorithm did it. It won again. It made the best decision. So whatever. And this ends that rant for good. I'm not going to talk about it again. I'm not going to talk about it in the fucking Beastars review because we're going to concentrate on the show there. But I felt like talking about it now because it pisses me off. Anyway, John, your next keeper.
Well, after that heated talk, let's calm it down again.
Yes, please.
It's time for the second season of Laid Back Camp.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cooling it down in a very cozy way. That's what I promised in the intro, actually, and it got a lot more heated, but now we can actually live up to the promise I made.
Yeah. So, I have talked about this show before. I kind of... God damn it, this goes against what we just talked about. I skipped watching the first season when it originally aired, and then I kind of binged it after the fact, and I was like, wow, this was really nice. This was, it's just, again, another show you can just chill and vibe out to. Just girls going camping, seeing new places. The first couple episodes are the main character, Rin, in this season, going out to a campsite on the shore to watch the New Year's sunrise, and it's really nice. Again, like with Non Biyori, this is, like a more character-driven thing, so there's not a lot of story to really sit down and talk about. I don't think I mentioned it before, but actually, in the first episode of this season, we kind of see the start of Rin getting into camping because she gets from her grandfather, who is a big camping and survivalist guy, a tent and some stuff from him, and she tries it out for the first time on her own, and just sort of it becomes part of her thing, what she likes to do. And I find it infinitely funny that her grandfather is voiced by Akio Otsuka.
Oh, yes.
So, survivalist grandfather Solid Snake.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the show is so great at just making you want to sit down, put on a nice warm blanket, sip your cocoa, and just be like, yeah, that's what camping's all about. And as a side note, I finally feel justified in investing in a VR headset because there's going to be a couple of virtual campout games coming out next month, or in March and April. They're based on the series.
That sounds like a chill time to have.
Yeah, definitely. So
laying back in the most literal sense in after work and being like, yeah, the mood.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. Laid back camp, YouTube camp is just a really chilled out time. Y'all should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all should watch it.
Especially if you're stressed out like I am because of certain video streaming service. Maybe I should, to calm my blood pressure or something, I should watch Laid Back Camp. All right. My next keeper, is it the last one? Or do you have one more?
I mean, I have a show that hasn't started yet.
Okay, yeah, okay, then there's one more from you. All right. My last keeper is Promised Neverland Season 2, which is one of my other big favorite shonen titles from recent years. And yeah, the kids just escaped from the orphanage/farm and are already in deep shit in the first episode. Just the opening seconds, hunted by a giant spider monster. Good times. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, and the story really just picks up right where it left off. They are on the search for other humans, like guided by a book and holographic pen left behind by their mysterious benefactor, William Minerva, who they are trying to find. But the outside world is full of unknown dangers, and they are being hunted by demons from the farm. And yeah, Cloverworks bringing the animation goods yet again. Great atmosphere, good CG. They're like these small dragonfly-esque bugs that look really amazing. Amazing soundtrack as well. The woods look especially good with lush, detailed vegetation. A bit of mist sprinkled in and some subtle lighting that gives it like this appropriately mysterious and grand feel. Very Elden feel. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I love Promised Neverland. If you listen to my review of season 1, you know why. And I'm pretty sure the second season is going to continue that. And got another kick-ass banger opening, just like the first one, which was one of my favorite things from Overworld ever. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more. Promised Neverland is a lot of fun. I like a lot of the characters. And this is, again, a nice twist on your standard shonen formula, just like Dr. Stone was. So I like when we don't get this the typical Dragon Ball Naruto knockoff, and instead get something that tries to do something different with the hype shonen thing. And yeah, it does that, and has an interesting world, and new interesting characters are introduced as well, and some big plot revelations in its second episode that I don't want to get into until the review. So yeah, I'm really hyped for the second season, and I hope it will be at least as good as the first one, though I heard the series gets even better and better and better and better. A lot of people weren't apparently too happy with the ending, or at least in part with part of it. But just like with Attack on Titan, there are chances that the original author might get involved and change some things once they get to that point. So we'll see what happens. I would love to find out, and I will, and looking forward to the second season a lot. Mm-hmm. John, your last keeper.
My last keeper I can't really talk a lot about yet because we're recording this on Tuesday, January 19th. So we have to draw the curtain back a little bit. And it doesn't air until tomorrow, Wednesday the 20th. And that's Sorcerous, Stabber, Orphen, The Battle of Kimluck.
Ah, yes.
Which is obviously the next part of the Orphen story and part of the reboot from last year. And it kind of follows the story that Orphen now knows that what Azalee's true motive is, that she is basically out to gain ultimate power. And he has to head to the holy city of Kimluck to stop her. And he will apparently engage in a fierce battle with the Death Teacher. It's a 90s light novel. What do you want?
Hadn't we had one of those in our schools anyway in real life? I'm pretty sure we did.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the reboot, so I'm looking forward to more Orphen to see where the story goes, because I don't really know much beyond what I've seen in the reboot.
That's probably the other show of the season next to Back Arrow that will give you like a nice retro anime feel in a way. So yeah, should be a good time.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yes, and I look forward to listening to your review of it. Speaking of reviews, that's it for the sneak peek, and now we're gonna get to our first review from fall season, and it's time to dig up some gold.
Yes. All right, so we're back. We're back with more golden Kamuy. And things have gotten even crazier than last time. So
if that is possible.
This story has the ability to escalate in these weird ways. Mm-hmm. But
out of nowhere, where it's like the source of the escalation is not always easily determined beforehand. And then it just happens, and it's like, what?
But yes, the long and short of it is we kind of pick up exactly where we left off. Separated from Sugimoto, Asirpa is now traveling towards the Russian border, focused on discovering more about her and her father's involvement with the coded tattoos. But Sugimoto is determined to find and protect her. And along the way, he meets new people, and there's new cultures and new foods to be had. It's always got to be about food. Come on.
Of course.
And, of course, the unforgiving northern terrain. Mm-hmm. God, I hate snow. I don't know about you.
I love snow. We're on different sides of the coin there, John.
You don't have to shovel it.
That's true, because there's almost none here whatsoever anymore, and I really miss it. So if I had to shovel it on a daily basis, I would probably be pissed off by it. But I just miss it, and I love the sound of snow under my boots, and I haven't heard that in quite a while, and that makes me very, very sad. So watching this show is probably the closest thing I can get of diving into Winter Wonderland.
This show and its weird, goofy, rotoscoped snow that looks just a little too realistic, but it's fine. Shut up.
It's weird. It looks more realistic than the fucking bear in the first season. So,
oh my god,
I will never let you forget that one.
I won't. You know what? When I recommend this show to people, I say to them, "Listen, the show's great, but I got to warn you," and I tell them up front.
I gotta warn you of the bear, and you just leave it at that without any further explanation, and they're just fucking horrified.
Sometimes I kind of say, "Hey, there's a PlayStation 2 bear."
Oh, okay, yeah, that works.
I gotta say this up front, that Geno Studio, I feel like they've grown since the first season of the show.
And yeah, we have said that in the second season. It's like they stepped up their game. And again, in the third season, they again stepped up their game. So yeah, definitely. Like this is miles away from what we saw in the first season and what we saw in, what was it called? Kokoku, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's still janky in a lot of parts, but it also looks really good in certain parts. Especially some of the battles look surprisingly sharp and well animated in this season.
There are some weird janky things that are definitely a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular in this season that got me really, really good. But yeah, so
I just want to say, I had almost forgotten what an insane thrill ride the finale of season 2 was, and I revisited that for the before I watched the third season, because like I remember the finale of the second season to be fucking bonkers. So I need to rewatch that and see what happened to all the characters before I get into the first episode, and I did. And considering how comparably lackluster, I say comparably because we have seen a lot of better animation. The actual animation is like direction, sound, and voice work, and especially the banging music need to be commended for making it as exciting as it is. And man, and the story, of course, as well, because what happens in that finale of that second season
is ballistic.
It's incredible. It's like there's so many crazy developments, and none of them feel like super far-fetched or anything. They're just really well plotted out and are surprising. And it's like you kind of can see them coming in certain parts, but you're also surprised. And it's just like it's one thing after another, and it doesn't feel rushed. It just feels super cool and like this super wild ride. And I loved it, and I loved it again when watching it again. So it's like, whoa. I wonder if the third season can live up to this, or if it will have a finale that is just as strong. And we'll get to that. I wonder what your evaluation on that is, and if we come down in the same place in regards to that. But yeah, let's first get into the actual plot. What's happening in this season, John? And of course, since this is a continued series review, full spoiler, people, we're going to talk about all seasons of Golden Kamuy in detail.
So we kind of start off with Sugimoto, Tanigaki, Tsukishima, and Koito. They're on Kiro Ranke and Company's trail, and they are heading north into Karafto, which, real quick, I'm going to take a real quick side note on that. It seems like there's a weird inconsistency in the translation, because Karafto was also, or would come to be known as a Russian territory called Sakhalin. And it seemed like at first they couldn't make up what to call it, even though the characters were referring to it as the same thing in the audio. I don't know if you picked up on that, but
I didn't pick up on that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was a little odd to me. But
okay. But yeah, you mentioned Kiro Ranke. He was kind of the he joined forces with Ogata at the end of the second season, and they both shot and killed Asirpa's father for some reason, which is the guy who apparently killed the other Ainu and to rob the gold or hide the gold and everything. And we don't know why he did that yet. And also, Inkarmat got stabbed by him, apparently. And so we got a bunch of different characters now on the trail of Kiro Ranke, Asirpa, and Ogata. And Asirpa doesn't know that Kiro Ranke did what he did. And I don't even know what the explanation was he gave her so that they would have to separate from the group. I think they just told her that Sugimoto was shot. And he was shot. And, they told her.
I think they told her that he was either shot or killed. Yeah.
Yeah, he was killed. I think that's what they told her. And he survives, of course. Gets rescued. He's
immortal.
Yeah, he's immortal. And he gets rescued by Tsurumi, who was pretty much the antagonist for most of the first couple of seasons. For the first two seasons, and now he and Sugimoto both are brain damage buddies, which they actually use that term in the show. So that's why our episode is named like that. Don't try to I don't know, make me look bad. It's in the show. Not trying to drag anyone, so yeah, that's in there, and that creates a lot of new interesting dynamics, because now Tsurumi, who also gets his head on the gold, everyone has like their own goals for what to do with the gold, and some of his soldiers join Sugimoto, Tanigaki. One of them is Koito, I think, which is like this young general's or admiral's son, and who is madly in love with Tsurumi, apparently. And the other one is one of Tsurumi's right-hand man, Tsukishima. We also learn a lot about him, and that's in general. Yeah. It's really interesting, and we got to that. But we got basically some of Tsurumi's army guys joining forces with Sugimoto and with Tanigaki, and they're trying to catch up to Kiroranka and everything. I think, and Shiraishi is also, I think, with Kiroranka's group, right?
Yeah, it's Kiroranke, right. Shiraishi, and Ogata, and they're with Asirpa, and I believe there was the other two Ainu kids, Chikapashi and Onoka, are with Sugimoto and the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are our two main groups. There are some other people joining and leaving throughout the course of the season, but those are our two main parties, and one are trying to get to a certain place. Kiroranka is trying to get to a certain place for a reason which we later learn, and the others are following them mainly to get Asirpa back and, getting their hands on the hints, the leads to the gold and everything.
Right.
So, yeah, that's basically our story setup. It's basically a manhunt, kinda. And yeah, there's a lot of shit happening. Like...
This story has a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And even though there are a lot of characters, I got to give it up for this season because they don't introduce a lot of new characters, which helps keep the focus.
I mean, there's some that are more important than others.
Oh, yeah, that's why I say, not a lot.
Not a lot, yeah. But usually, there's a lot of... I feel like the show has a lot of... which is second season didn't have as much, I felt like. But there are a lot of one-off episodes where it's like, hey, we have a bunch of side characters that are not really that important, but we're going to have some fun bits with our main characters who interact when meeting those characters. And we advance their character development through those characters. And yeah, it's done really well. There's some very, very interesting plot developments in the show. Yeah, so we'll get to that later. Yeah, it's really interesting. We have a sniper duel, another prison raid, basically.
Yeah.
Just some.
I believe a wild tiger gets involved with the prison raid.
Giant Siberian tiger suddenly appears, and yeah, that's really cool. So I enjoyed
there's a circus. Sugimoto and crew try to make a name for themselves in the local newspaper to try and get Asirpa and company's attention, and it fails horribly when Sugimoto's name is misspelled in the paper, which leads to one of my favorite bits in this season, where Tanigaki is basically shanghaied by the dance troupe leader of the circus into helping them out. And my favorite bit from that is is Tanigaki's face. Every time something happens, it happens like 3 times in one episode, there's these cuts to his face doing different reactions, and he looks so hilariously off model, and it looks worse and worse each time, to the point that you're like, oh yeah, they're doing this on purpose.
Yeah, and it's great. Like, the show is trying to make us think Tanigaki is pissed off because he has to dance in the circus show, but then it turns out he is actually depressed because he's bad at dancing and is dragging the other girls in the performance down, and he's so fucking happy when he pulls it off. Like, this show, again, is pure joy. It was in the first 2 seasons, but again, this 3rd season has so many joyous moments in them, and that's also my favorite one, just like for you. It's just Tanigaki in general is a fucking great character. He's nice, he's cool, his relationship with Inkarmat is pretty neat, and he's basically doing that to get revenge on Kiroranke, and which also, again, he's the MVP in this season when it comes to awesome scenes. First this one in the circus, and then later, I have to jump ahead a bit because we, just talking about him, but he meets Kiroranke and has a knife fight with him. And then there's like this badass scene where he just fucking jams the knife in Kiruranke's body, I think, and says, "You forgot something at Abashiri prison. I came to give it back to you."
Yes!
It was so fucking badass.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so fucking. It's a perfect line. It could be out of an 80s action movie. It's so good, and he delivers this so fucking deadpan. And it's like, here, you can have your knife back, asshole. And fantastic. I love it. Yeah, he's great in this season. I really, really liked. I mean, I liked him in the previous two seasons as well, but he's a real MVP in this one, and always super reliable, and always fun, and always funny. And just a cool beefcake, and you gotta love him.
Yeah, there's some really good like backstory in some of these episodes too. Like in the first one that we see is Tsukishima has like this flashback where he was in death row in prison for murdering his father, and that's where he first meets Tsurumi, and we sort of start to see how manipulative Tsurumi really is, because I walked away from that episode not really knowing the truth.
Yeah,
he keeps twisting the story, and he gets other people to help him twist it further. So I got to a point where I was like, well, wait, what's the real deal? And it's like, and you don't ever really know.
You get the idea that he is a puppet master, and he just played things to make it happen the way he wanted it to happen, right?
Yeah.
That feels like that's Tsurumi's thing. Like, he is a charmer, he's a player, he's a mind manipulator. He's really good at that shit, and that again shines through. And not only in Tsukishima's backstory, they both also have an unlikely connection to Sugimoto, which I love, where it's like they both, get on the raft that saves them and everything, and instead of bringing his dead friend, Sugimoto leaves the raft to them and shit. Like, it's really cool. It's really cool. It's like, holy fuck, they crossed paths before, and if Sugimoto didn't do that, then Tsurumi probably wouldn't be alive. And it's really cool, doing this shit retroactively, like doing some retcons here and then, or it wasn't probably a retcon, maybe the author just wanted to do that in the first place. It's really cool.
Just tying these threads together, it's so clean.
Yeah. It's very clean. It's very clean, very cool. And then we learn later on that Tsurumi is actually the guy teaching Kiruranke and our Serpa's dad, who worked together, Japanese. Like, he was a Japanese spy against Russia, and actually was the catalyst for a lot of the shit that happened in this show in the first place. And it's so cool.
The end of that episode.
It was, when he just walks away. It was
God.
Fucking ridiculous. Again, so much good development budget. And this fucking show. I mean, we spoiled it all, but if you haven't watched the first two seasons by now and haven't watched the third season, you have to blame yourself alone. But yeah, it's really cool shit. In regards to that, we also learned a lot of cool shit about Serpa's dad, about Kiruranke, where they actually came from. They came from Russia, basically. They were apparently the people who killed Alexander II, like the Russian Tsar, or from that
weird
family.
Way to tie it into actual history.
Yeah, so suddenly this becomes historical fiction. I mean, it was kind of by setting it in a real life setting with the Russo-Japanese War, but still, it's like, hey, no, these are actually the guys who did an assassination attempt and actually killed a guy, and or at least they were part of the group. But no, I think Kiruranke was actually the one who threw the bomb, which of course in real life this worked a bit differently. That's not exactly how that guy was killed, but
yeah, but and everything. I think the embellishment works for it.
Yeah, it works super well, and it's fun, and it gives a lot of motivation to what they're trying to do and why they wanted the gold and everything. They basically wanted to create their own nation. Kind of the same thing that the old guy with the katana from the samurai era still wants to do.
Toshizo?
Was it Toshizo? Yeah.
Yeah, Hijikata Toshizo.
Yeah, Hijikata, right. That was the name I was in my mind. Hijikata, he wants to create basically his own nation where the old laws rule, where it's basically still the Sengoku era, I guess, some kind of era that where the sword rules, I guess, and that he can still feel that he belongs in because he can't deal with all the new shit. Tsurumi wants to create his own, I don't know, kind of pseudo army nation company for his army people, for his army guys, so that everyone is basically taken care of and everything that he cares for, which also, again, kind of relatable good goal, even more so than Hijikata's mainly, even though he has also the well-being of other people on his mind. And then Kiroranke and Wilk, which was the real name of Sirpa's dad, which means wolf in Polish. And they wanted to create a nation, their own separate nations for the runaways from Russia, if I'm not mistaken, who fled to Japanese country. Or, no, not only for them, for the Ainu as well, right? They wanted to create a nation for all outcasts from both nations that could settle down there and be safe from persecution. Both the Ainu from the Japanese side of things and some of the people in Russia from the Russian side of things that are minorities there. I think that was their plan. So again, a very noble, gallant goal, I guess. The way they went about it, of course, is the completely wrong way, which is kind of the thing for all the characters in the show. It's like, yeah, the ends don't always justify the means. And that's what happens. And it's cool. It's super cool. Like you didn't have to give all the characters so much interesting backgrounds, and they do. so it's cool. Like on top of all the crazy shit happening, all the weird fucking Western dual aesthetics, like in this underused landscape of winter on Japanese border, Russian border. It's really cool. I liked it a lot. And yeah, like you said, we meet some more cool characters. Do you want to fill us in on some of them?
Well, I believe one of the ones that you might be referring to, God, there's a lot. Jeez. Well, there was Sophia, who Kiroranke and company are trying to free from Alexandrovskaya prison.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the second prison raid, which I was a bit down in the beginning. It's like, wait, we're going to do another prison raid? Well, this is a whole completely different thing, and it's not as long and not the entirety of the finale, really, this time around.
Yeah, and I mean, Sophia may or may not be Sonia the Golden Hand, who had a hand in the assassination of Alexander II, except there's kind of a historical inconsistency here.
Of course, there are a lot of historical inconsistencies here.
Considering she died in 1902 and the Russo-Japanese War was 1904 to 1905.
Oh, okay. Well, liberties. Yes. But it works in terms of the story, right? She's part of Kiroranke's and Wilk's group. And that's what... I forgot, why is he just trying to free her because, she was part of their group, or is it related to the goal thing because she knows where it might also be or has some of the hints? I forgot. That's the thing. There's so much going on in this show. It's hard to remember some of the deeper plot details.
As far as I could recall, or as far as I could glean from it, they were just trying to get her back because she was sort of Kiroranke's lover.
Yeah.
But they were trying to decode the thing, the tattoos, by jogging Asirpa's memory of her father and, stuff like that, and thought, hey, maybe we can dig those memories out of her head by helping, jog what she remembers about him. And, I mean, that kind of works.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's fine.
But yeah.
One of the other ones that is introduced pretty early in the season is Gansoku.
Oh, right. Like Gansoku is
special breed.
Yes, when Sugimoto and the others are trying to find information about where Asirpa and company went, they're trying to be like, hey, have you seen this Ainu girl in this border village? And it's kind of like, well, no, we don't. But if you head over that way, you might be able to find people who have some information, and Sugimoto and company end up getting dragged into the Stenka.
Yeah.
And it's this knockdown, drag-out fight between the four of them and four big burly Russian guys, and they catch the attention of this big muscle man, Maiharu Gansoku, and they have it out. And God, Gansoku ends up punching Sugimoto so much and so hard that Sugimoto gets like severely punch drunk, and they have to try.
Yeah, because of his brain damage. Like,
Yeah.
he goes berserk now if he gets punched in the head too much.
Yeah.
That's literally the explanation. He just drools, like, he gets this brain fluid is dripping out of his head wound, just like the same it does for Tsurumi, when, like, there's a drip of that fluid, like, running down from his metal mask and shit like that. So it's the same for Sugimoto now, and he's just going bananas and wails on everyone.
Yeah.
It's super crazy. But yeah, Gansoku is interesting. He managed to beat Ushiyama a couple of times in prison, as we learn. That is all you really need to know to get out of his way. Because that is fucking insane.
Ushiyama's a goddamn tank.
Yeah, he also delivers a grade A spinning lariat during the Stenka, like Zangi from Street Fighter would approve. Yeah,
Pile driver.
he's really fun because he's like really hooked on fighting, and he loves to be punched, I guess, and loves to fight, and he's a fun character. Just he's not that important to the story really, although he has a part, I guess. There's another character that we meet later, a girl who is also not that super important, but they tease like this. They tease like this spin-off with her and him in Russia, because they join forces and then leave for Russia, and I'm like, are we gonna get that Gansoku spin-off? Because I would watch it. And they're like, but no, this is a different story for another time. Like, are we gonna hear that story? Because I'm all there for it. Just give it to me. Like,
I mean, I think some of the Japanese manga releases did have OVAs, so hey, maybe
interesting.
Question mark?
That would be cool. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, it's probably just a joke, but he was a really fun character, and that fight in the Stenka was cool. They really have. They also have these imaginary interviews before the Stenka, which are a super fun idea. Where it's like they're sitting in the dark, and it's like they're interviewing like for TV or something, for some sports broadcast, and say this ludicrous shit, and then they get into the fight. It's like, hey, is this like it's before a boxing fight or something? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and I do it because of this and that, and this is my thing. It's hilarious. I don't know how they came up with that. It's super fun.
Yeah, but Gansoku he's a great character, even if he does a couple things, but he's not super important compared to like Sophia. I feel like has at least a little bit more importance, but then she also at the end of the season just kind of disappears to her own devices. But I feel like we're going to need to see her again, without a doubt.
Yeah, she doesn't spend that much time actually once Kiroranka frees her, like spends time with them. It's like they get together and then immediately they're separated again in a way, right? Because of reasons, because of what happens in the finale. We're going to talk about that. But we might see more of her in the coming seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And there's some characters that get a bit left by the wayside. Like Shiraishi is in there, and he's still a good dude who keeps his promises and everything. He's super fun and likable and everything. But, I felt like he had a bigger role to play in the second season than he does here. He's still around, and he's doing some cool shit. But it's like, feels like you were more important than might become important again. The main focus in this season is on Kiroranka. It's on, of course, Sugimoto. It's on some of the new side characters, or more the characters that they are trying to establish now, like Tsukushima. Give us a background on him, and we learn a bit more about Ogata. Man, Ogata, like his backstory. Holy shit! Like, talk about chilling. Woof.
Oh man.
Not going. Yeah.
He sold his brother out, man.
Not going into too much detail, but the irony is he maybe really didn't feel any guilt for killing enemy soldiers, but he definitely felt guilt for killing his brother, which is probably that what turned him into a complete psychopath and broke him. Like he wanted to prove that he, didn't feel anything, and then you see that in his face that probably wasn't the case. He just tried to tell it himself to get over all the horrors that he experienced in war. And then when he, tried to stick to his code, to his ideals so hard to make himself believe that it was okay, he killed probably the one person he actually had a relation to. And then that completely turned him into a fucking monster. And that's all we learn all about that in this season. And it turns, he was already the ultimate villain kind of at the end of the second season when he shot Sugimoto at that point,
Yeah.
You're fucked, dude. But it gets even worse in this. Jesus fucking Christ.
There will be blood.
Indeed. Like at the end of the season, they have like this drag out knockout fight, like him and Sugimoto and everything, and or him and Serpa actually to a point, and it's great. Like misery loves company, so Ogata is fixated on proving that all people are as scrupulous and as downright sociopathic as he is, and he tries to drag a Serpa down to his level, and actually looks happy when she shoots him in the fucking eye.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, I made it happen. She's now like me. But of course, Sugimoto won't let that happen. So, because he's the good influence in Aserpa's life and vice versa. Like they're the ones who keep each other going and not let each other being dragged out by pieces of shit like Ogata. But just that scene, that frame is so fucking chilling. When he just fucking smiles.
Yeah.
When he's shot in the eye right with an arrow, and it's
I think we had gotten those breadcrumbs up until that point, but at that point, that's when you know. Yeah, and it's really like you have all these interesting villains who have like these interesting motivations that are kind of relatable, what they want to do with the gold and everything, except for Ogata, who's like the guy you just love to hate because he's like such a sociopathic piece of shit. He's such a wild card, and you don't know what's going through his head. He's just out for the chaos.
That's also fun. You never know when he's gonna turn on the other characters and what's gonna result from that. And he's like like you said, he's the ultimate wild card, and he is the guy you want to see die the most. And we're not alone with that because
that led to probably one of my other big favorite moments, just Sugimoto saying under his breath, "Yeah, you need to get better and stay alive, Okada, so I can kill you." I was like, oh!
Like the pure expression of joy on Sugimoto's face when Ogata escapes. Like that's also chilling because he's just so happy to be able to kill Ogata himself and let it not be a blight on Aserpa's conscience instead. Like he's so fucking happy that he eventually is gonna be the one that is his goal, and he's like, yes, he escaped from his his hospital bed, and I'll get a chance to actually kill him and not the injury he got from Aserpa be the one that does him in. He is so fucking happy, and it's kind of nice because it's like he's so happy for one reason because he's happy for Aserpa, and Aserpa means a lot to him, and that, like I said, it's not gonna weigh on her conscience because she didn't kill Ogata. But he's also really happy that he gets to be the one who kills Ogata. Really fucking happy, and that is super relatable because Ogata is a piece of shit, and. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that happening eventually. But they're probably going to have a lot more confrontations. And I'm going to look forward to each one of them. So yeah. But Ogata is a great character on the villain side. We also, like I said, we have Chikapashi, who has become a capable helper in his own right. Like he made that shot against the Wolverine count. That was really cool. I was like, that kid kind of annoyed me in the first two seasons in certain parts, and then in this season he was like, yeah, he's coming through. He's become a valuable part of the group to an extent. So that's really cool. I want to see if he also goes places.
It was kind of a side episode, but I liked the one where Hichikata had the standoff with Yoichiro the Manslayer.
Oh yeah,
And seeing their like communicating through their younger selves and fighting with the sword, or like speaking through their swords, basically. That was that was awesome.
Was an awesome looking episode too. Like the transition effect when Yoichiro remembers things from the past look pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Also the red sky and moon create this great atmosphere, and his story isn't bad either. He's like a one-off thing, but still it's like the background is interesting. Also the animation in that scene is pretty damn good. In general, it seems like we said before, Geno upped their game and are operating on a consistently slightly higher animation quality level this season. So yeah, that episode definitely highlighted that, and it was really fun and cool and everything, especially from a visual side of things. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, of course we have our two main characters. We already plenty talked about Sugimoto. There's not that much going on with our Serpa in this season, really, because she's mainly dragged along by Kiruranke and doesn't really get until the ending that he is kind of lying to her and that, you know, what his ultimate goal is. Mm. But still, it's nice to finally see Asurpa and Sugimoto reunited after being separated for almost the entire season. And when there's a scene where they where they jump in each other's arms, basically, that made my heart jump. I was really happy for them, and you know, they are such a great team, and you know that they deeply care for each other and mean a lot to each other. And it's really nice to see them together again and have more scenes together probably in the next season. I'm looking forward to that because I like them the best when they are together.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm really enjoying that this was the season where they're like, now they're separated, and we're giving Sugimoto a really good reason to go after everyone and trying to get her back and everything. And it was really cool. And she did enough things. Like I said, she shot Ogata in the fucking eye. So that's fine with me. And of course, she's there to teach us again about Ainu food and everything, and Ainu culture and nature and shit like that. So yeah, and history. We learn about a lot about history as well in this season.
It's kind of funny because I think it was a rerun of an episode of Jeopardy I was watching. There was a question, and the answer was the Ainu, and I pulled that out of my head, and my parents looked at me like, "What?" And I'm like, you know. So this show, you know, taught me a little bit about Ainu culture.
And I mean, that's more a lot of other anime do, especially in this. With this kind of weird, wacky setup and, you know, the way the story is told and everything. Before I get to random positive things, I want to name the one thing that kind of stuck out to me a bit on the negative side of things on this season. And there were some episodes, I didn't write down which of those were exactly, but it felt like in a couple of scenes, in a couple of episodes, this season was treading a bit more water than the second one. It was a bit more episodic again, just like the first season was in parts, or felt like in parts. But there was just a couple of scenes where you were wondering, like, hey, don't you, like, the other guys are getting away, maybe try to get, you know what you need to do, maybe focus on that instead of doing, like, these side things. And that's why in certain parts, even though those side things, side quests, quote unquote, were a lot of fun, it felt like, yeah, we're kind of, I don't know, stalling for time in some way, but, you know, it didn't really have to. So it felt like, hey, we're not going to continue pursuing our villains, quote unquote, our villain group, quote unquote, for now. We're going to do other stuff and try to find more guys with tattoos on their backs and everything. It's like, I get why they're doing that, but it feels like, no, you have a much more pressing goal here. So
weird because this season covered a lot of ground. It was like,
yeah, that's true,
close to 50 chapters.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
There's plenty of chapters to go after that. There's like 80 more after. So
I guess it's just because there was a lot of side quests in this one, and we have two clearly separate groups that were doing their own thing for a while, and you were just waiting for them to meet each other, right? While in the first and second season, you didn't know exactly where the story was going, except for them trying to get to the prison, and which happened by the end of season 2. That was like a consistent build-up, really, in a way, while on the way they were still saying, like, hey, we need to get the tattoo guys. And I don't know, it just felt like the second season felt a bit more straightforward and effective to me. That's all. Not saying that the third season is bad in any real way. Like, there's character development, is interesting plot revelations, action scenes, and comedy for days. But, the build up to the prison break at the end of this prison break-in, actually, at the end of the second season felt a bit more effective to me. So it's like, hey, here's the gold standard, right? Like, the end of the second season was so good, and the build up to that was so great and everything. And now the third season maybe feels like it's stalling a bit in certain parts, but it never really dragged down the show for me. It was like never bored or anything. I was just wondering, hey, this is not as, doesn't feel as quick paced in a way, or not as straightforward as the second season was, which I liked about that season. So, all right, that's totally fine. And it's just something that jumped out at me, but it's also not really that. It's just a nitpick. It's not really a super big criticism of this season, because this season was plenty fun. And there were so many fun things. Like, one of the things that happens aside from the Stenka is a fight in the Banya, which is kind of the sauna thing, which they can't get out because there's a giant Wolverine in front of the which then gets taken out by Sugimoto eventually, I think, or Sikapasi. That Banya fight is very gay and very good.
Yeah.
Like the fight in the Banya itself. It's really funny. And the OP is good again, of course. All the Golden Kamuy OPs are good. I don't know if this is my favorite. Probably the second one in terms of song was my favorite, but also the first one was a great song by Man with a Mission. I don't know. All the OPs are great of the show. I don't know, John, do you have a definitive favorite?
Oh, it's so hard to pick, but I mean, I love Winding Road so much. And the second OP was really great too. I don't know how I feel about this third one. I mean, I like it, but I don't know if I like it as much as the two that came before it.
I would put it on the same place for me probably as Winding Road.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. It was just fun. It gets you in the right mood and lets you know what's going to happen in this season, kind of. So, yeah, it's fun. And, yeah, there's so many cool little scenes here and there with the characters. And, for example, there's in the circus, there's Sugimoto and Koito have, like, this performance battle over the attention of the audience. And it's really good. And it's really fun because Koito is kind of a natural in terms of acrobatics and everything. And Sugimoto is really jealous, really envious of him. And it's really fun, and it results in this ridiculous thing where Sugimoto has to cut himself with a sword, and then the trick sword is not there, and he cuts himself for real, and it's really horrifying, but also really funny. Oh shit, this show. And speaking of Koito, he also is really fun, and he has like this badass sword fight in the finale.
Yes. When Kirorake throws a grenade at him, he just in midair, I was like, dude.
Yes, really
so
badass.
Awesome.
Exactly. And yeah, the soundtrack is really good again. It's fantastic. It's really thrilling. And I think my favorite, it was my favorite when again, season finale of season 2, that was when the soundtrack was at its best, but it's also really, really good in this third season. And there is so much really good shit in this season and in this show in general. Like, Golden Kamuy is such a fun show with a lot of ridiculous stuff happening, and it feels like it would be something out of the pen of Hirohiko Araki. Yeah,
I definitely feel like that's probably some of Noda's influence.
Yeah, definitely. Because JoJo's has just like the same amount of crazy one-off stories and great character development and ridiculous plot developments and battles that can go either way and pull crazy dumb shit out of their ass over and over again. And that same thing happens in Golden Kamuy, and it's super fun. It's just a completely different setting. No superpowers. Well, some of the characters are near superhuman. I mean, Ushiyama, really, and Sugimoto, really. So, yeah. And Ogata has sniper superpowers. So, I guess, yeah, every anime tends to have larger-than-life characters, and so does Golden Kamuy. But it's super fun. And I love it to death. The one thing that really unnerved me in this season was the knife sliding into the body of, was it Kiroranke's body or Tanigaki's body? I don't know. That's just one thing. There's so much gore and blood in this show, but this is just the one thing that is super hard to watch for me. I can deal with gross over-the-top splatter, but this is too real. Like a knife slowly sliding into someone's body. I can't watch that scene in Saving Private Ryan either. At the end there, I gotta look away. That's just something. It's too fucking real, and that also happens in this show. In one of the final episodes.
I mean, I feel like I can handle it a little better than something like the splatters, because sometimes the splatter stuff is like, it's a little too much. Like what modern.
It's so outlandish though, and the.
I mean, even so, something like modern Mortal Kombat, for instance, that outlandish? Yeah. Is it fucking disgusting? Yes. Which is why, like, I look back on old Mortal Kombat and I'm like, haha, yeah, that's dumb, goofy shit, and I can at least handle that. Where with this, it's like, I get what you're saying, but I feel like it bothers me slightly less. But you could still feel the tension of, oh, that guy got a knife rammed through his hand. Oh God. Oh, ooh.
Yeah, not only that, but actually the knife sliding slowly into the chest, like very slowly. Yeah. I think that's the thing that it sends goosebumps all over my skin, and it makes me feel really bad. It's like it's really I don't know. You would expect something like dogs being killed left and right, and JoJo's would be the one thing that really horrifies me, because it's also very splattery, and I don't like to look at that, but it's also, again, the deaths in JoJo's are so fucking hilariously over the top that aside from, being attached to a certain character and then being like, oh, fuck, it's still, like, it's so cartoony that it doesn't bother me that much. But this was, again, displayed very subdued and realistically, considering all the crazy shit that happened before and after that scene in terms of fighting. And I was like, oh God, this is too real. So I guess to each their own trigger. But yeah, that was one of the things that also stuck out to me. Oh, and speaking of JoJo's, Sugimoto delivered the Ora Oras in his fight in the Senka. So yeah, there we got another commonality here. Good stuff.
I think my only other big complaint with this season is that it ended and I need more of it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good complaint to have, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think another season has been announced yet, right?
It hasn't yet, but it's definitely a foregone conclusion because there's so much more to the story, and the show has really proven itself and become I think a big fan favorite.
I hope so. I hope the ratings are up there. I mean, user ratings in terms of actual people liking it are very high, but I mean, like, how many people actually watched it? That's that's the important thing, right? Nobody cares about the show that is well reviewed, but then nobody watches it, and that's not going to be continued. But I hope that's not the case for Golden Kamuy, because I definitely want to see that story through. And I'm really the manga is finished at this point.
Oh no, the manga is definitely ongoing.
Oh, okay.
Chapter 264 was just released January 7th.
I mean, they still haven't found the gold, so
yeah,
that's good. Still going to continue. The gold hunt continues.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the compilation, the Tankobon goes, there's 24 volumes of the manga. The 23rd has a August release date here in the West, so you can fucking buy and read all of that manga, and I kind of want to, but I also don't want to get too far ahead because I want to see, how it plays out, because I think we both went into this show not expecting anything in particular, and now here we are 3 seasons later, like, give it to me.
Oh yeah.
We're like, going off of the chapter numbers, we're like 190 chapters in, and just like, I want to keep going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to not try to look up the manga and read it from there. It's like one of those shows where it's like, I want to see it in anime form. I gotta wait, but I also want to know how the story continues.
Kind of like our friends with Attack on Titan, when at one point I was like, I guess I should just read the manga, and they were like, no! And I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Long-running series aside, and changes to certain plot threads and mangas aside and so on, I always prefer the anime version because I want the voice acting, I want the music, I want the actual animation,
yeah,
if it's good. there are rarely any cases where I would take the manga over the anime. Berserk being the exception because there has not really been a good adaptation of Berserk. So aside from that, I even take One Piece, which, okay, that would be, arguable. If there's a Dragon Ball Kai version of One Piece eventually, of course I would watch that over reading the manga. But considering how many episodes that show has, it's gonna soon reach the 1,000. It just reached its 1,000 chapter in the manga. Cheers to 1,000 more! Oda, you crazy bastard! Finish your fucking story.
See, that's a different. This is Noda. Oda. Oh my God, Oda. How do you keep going, my dude? Like, props to you, but
yeah, I mean, he loves the universe that he created, and who can blame him? I love it too. I just hope that we're gonna see an end to all of this. That's all it is. But yeah, we're probably gonna see an end to Golden Kamuy. I don't feel like you can stretch that story infinitely, and you can't create new and crazy kingdoms and vistas and shit like that because you're kind of grounded in reality to an extent. So eventually that story is gonna run its course. I hope they don't stretch it out too much and keep us engaged. So far, my interest hasn't waned, and I definitely want to see more. John, where can people watch Golden Kamuy?
They can watch it on Crunchyroll/Verve, Funimation if you want the dub, and Anime Lab. I seem to keep discovering these streaming services that I've never heard of, and I might as well relay them to tell you where you can watch them. Yeah. Maybe it's a regional thing.
Maybe that. Yeah, or maybe, there are some shows that are just licensed by multiple in the multiple services in the same region.
Yeah, it's weird because going back
One Piece is running here on Crunchyroll and Wakanim as well, like on both services for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird because High Dive, Sentai Filmworks' streaming platform. Sentai Filmworks has the rights to Non Biyori, so they're streaming it on there, but they also licensed it out to Crunchyroll as well, and like they have a separate credit roll at the end, saying, this is licensed to Sentai Filmworks, blah 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 blue. So
I wonder how that works and what the actual mechanics are behind those licensing multi-licensing processes.
Yeah,
like, do I have to pay less money then because it goes to multiple servers? I would imagine so. Interesting.
Side note, Funimation and Crunchyroll are both owned by Sony now, and we haven't really seen the impact of that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we've talked about it before that thing happened, and we expect at some point to get a funny roll or a Crunchy-mation.
Unless they just both squish their libraries. I have no idea.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they're based in different parts of your country, right?
Yeah, but now they're under, the same company because Crunchyroll's old parent company was, I believe, AT&T. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll see if anything happens, if those two companies merge, or if they stay on their own and just are owned by the same company and that's it. We'll see. But I mean, they already shared their library before and are still doing it to an extent, I guess.
Kind of.
Like you said, with the sub is on Crunchy, the dub is on Funimation or stuff like that happens. I mean, that seems to be the arrangement in certain cases. That makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It will be interesting to keep an eye on that.
TLDR, watch Golden Kamuy is great. It's good. It's awesome.
Absolutely. It's one of the best in the recent seasons, and it's an underused setting. It has great characters. It has a great plot, great surprising story, and yeah, both of us are super excited to see what comes next.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a wrap on the 106th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in, we hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut!
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
The travels of a roaming sorceress and the adventures therein.
And the rise to the top of the volleyball court continues.